little bit of organizational stuff. So Lindsay, how we doing? We got looks like we've got a quorum here. How we doing with staff? We got Lucinda. Who else we're gonna have? That's either a Lucinda question or a Lindsay question.
Christopher. And I think Christopher is, let's see, is Christopher on? Christopher's on.
Okay. Let's pull that over and take a look at that. Okay, yeah, there's Christopher. Rose is in there, so we have our attorney. Hey, Rose, I never welcomed you back from vacation on our agenda meeting, but welcome back, Rose.
Well, thank you.
All right,
Good
cool.
to be back.
I bet, especially with this rain. Kind of, if we have allotted amounts of rain, right? Okay, there's the recording piece. Who else do we need? Let's see.
Peru is on as well.
Say that again, Lindsay.
County Manager Peru is on as well.
Oh, that Stevie guy, County Manager Peru. All right, there he is. I saw him. He can't run away. He's behind that S out there. No, that's Sue Brown. Okay. Do we need anybody else? Lucinda or Steve?
I think we're good.
Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and call today's special meeting to order. And in this case, this is the County Flood Control District. So I need first we form as the Board of Supervisors, but then I need a motion to resolve as the Board of Directors of the Coconino County Flood Control District. Could I
So
have
move, Matt.
a motion? Okay, motion by Patrice.
Okay,
And
I'll second.
all right, thank you. Thank you. Number 2, district, thank you for a second. Look at that, 1 and 2. All in favor of the motion, vote aye.
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 Fantastic. So it's just the 3 of us today, so we could do this special meeting, which is so important. And with that, let's see. Okay. We don't have, I'm just making sure on the resolution was the additional inclusion. So it wasn't any addendum associated with the meeting. Okay, so I'll go ahead and, am I going to Steve or to Lucinda? Which one of you guys are going first?
I'm going
Go
to
ahead,
just say a couple words and turn it over to Lucinda to acknowledge the lightning speed by which this was done. We have literally moved the federal government quicker than it's ever moved before. And that typically happens when you got Lucinda and you got Christopher and others involved. But again, this is important. This is really important. And I think that just really speaks to the commitment and the work and everything that we do here. But it's just, you just can't help but say, wow. So with that, Mr. Chair, I give it back to you, sir.
Okay, fantastic. And so before we hop to Lucinda, probably just a little bit more housekeeping. As noted by Patrice, we have a few members from the community that will be impacted. We'll go through a little presentation here. We'll provide you an opportunity to speak and comment associated with this. And Patrice, when that happens, I'll turn to you for you to take over the meeting to interface with the public. That sound great?
Thanks,
Okay.
Chair Ryan. I'd appreciate it.
Fantastic. Lucinda?
All right, thank you, Chair and Board of Directors of the Flood Control District. Really appreciate your making time to have this critical meeting this evening. We as you're well aware, we've been in what we term flood fight here now for 3 weeks, about 3 weeks. And to that end, as Chair Ryan mentioned, and as did County Manager Peru, we moved very quickly to engage with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, who is within the Department of Agriculture, and to try to make an effort to secure emergency funding, what they call exigency funding. And I'm very, very pleased to report in a very, very quick period of time. I mean, literally, we had an initial conversation with leadership at USDA a week ago yesterday, and this has all transpired in that time. And I just first want to really commend the team. I know that I first really want to commend the NRCS, and Natural Resources Conservation Service. And we have Kyle Spencer with us today, who is our project liaison with the NRCS. And they have just moved, I'll say heaven and earth to make this happen in a very expeditious manner. And really want to thank everyone at the NRCS. There's just been a number of people there from the executive level to everybody on the boots on the ground here in our area to prepare the damage assessment report, to work with us in putting together the elements of the project. We just literally got off a few minutes ago on a pre-construction meeting. And they have just done everything to make this happen, including Melissa Martinez, who turned around all the paperwork, which we know can, is a task. So anyway, just really want to commend the NRCS team. I want to thank Natural Channel Design for their support and for Tiffany Construction, Herb Tiffany, the owner of the company, and his superintendent, Mike Garrison's, that we'll move heaven and earth to get this done. And so we've got just an amazing team, the team minister pulling this all together. So we have a few slides that we're going to move through. I'm going to go ahead and ask Sean to bring that up. He's going to share his screen. Thank you, Sean. And so we're going to move through a few slides here. Go ahead, Sean, and go to the next slide. We're here this evening to recommend and for your consideration approval of an NRCS exigency grant and the match funding for that grant. They have approved, this has been approved at the federal level, and the money has been sent in effect to the state for a total of $606,328 with a district match of $152,000. That $152,000 can be made both through in kind, and we've been through this rodeo before. We understand what that means. And again, worked through that with them very closely over the last couple of days to put this project together. This emergency project is to address the severe and repetitive post-wildfire flooding in the Mount
Lucinda?
Yes.
Lucinda? Okay, you have a presentation saying, just for clarification for the record, you're noting in your PowerPoint 152,000, where we have a different figure in the document itself, $151,582. So I just want to get clarification.
I may have rounded that up a little bit there.
Okay, for the sake of the board, the document itself is correct, right?
Yeah,
the application.
Yes, the resolution is.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, just so we keep the record clean on that. Okay, thanks, Lucinda. Go ahead.
Sure. So this project is to address severe and repetitive post-wildfire flooding, which in this area and downstream is placing lives at risk, as well as homes are at risk in the Mount Eldon Estates area are at risk for destruction. So this is a really critical project. Importantly, the project will also reduce, it won't eliminate, but it'll reduce the impact of sediment downstream, because we'll be doing a number, as you'll see, Christopher will cover a number of grade control structures that will, the intent is to reduce the erosion, which all that sediment now.
Okay, we lost you, Lucinda.
now is ending up
Verbally.
in Flagstaff, long-term response costs, which, can you hear me now?
Yeah, Lucinda, you might
Yeah.
just turn off your video.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I'm sitting here right in the office. So on to next slide, Sean. So we're going to, and go ahead and go to the next slide. We're going to move through these pretty quickly. Just some quick background. I think the three board of directors are aware of the background of the museum fire, that it burned very severely on a significant portion of this watershed, and Mount Eldon Estates that would be impacted by this project literally lies a half a mile. They get water in the development within 10 minutes of rain on the burn area. And then it's about 2 miles from Flagstaff. So next slide. This is a picture of the steepness of the slopes. It shows you the severity of the burn. Next slide. And I think, as everyone's aware, we did an analysis to identify what would be the likely impacts back in 2019 when the fire took place, and identified that 400 homes and 35 businesses were at risk for severe and repetitive flooding. And we immediately developed a mitigation plan, implemented that mitigation plan. And frankly, if we had not done that, we probably would have had hundreds of homes within Flagstaff and Mount Eldon Estates that would have had severe damage from the flooding that we've had to date. Next slide. And this is the map that shows you, to give you some understanding. Down at the bottom there, you can see Flagstaff proper there with a lot of blue that represents flooding. And then you can see the burn area at the top of the photo that's colored there. And Mount Eldon Estates, you can see, is just downstream of the burn area, again, within a half a mile. Next slide. Although we did construct 2 projects in this area, one on the forest above this area, which I'm happy to report is having a very positive effect on retaining debris and sediment above the Mount Eldon Estates. Doesn't mean that they still aren't being impacted by that and as well downstream, but that area that we were able to stabilize is performing well. We also constructed a flood mitigation project within Mount Eldon Estates this spring. And again, that probably has saved a number of homes in that area already, but further work is needed. And then, of course, we went through 2 years of non-monsoons, but now we are having a real monsoon. I think we can all agree. Next slide, Sean. Sean, next slide. Okay. And then, as everyone's aware, we had our initial flood event on July 13th. We experienced, I won't say we experienced a big flood, but we experienced a significant flood event. It was 2 inches on the northern section of the burn area. And that, and then subsequent flooding, we've had 6 more rainfall events and 5 flooding events that went beyond the channels and had significant impact downstream. We've had 22 homes with interior flooding, even with all the mitigation that we put in place, with an estimated damage at $500,000. The city of Flagstaff and county crews have removed over 5,200 tons of mud and debris. The city estimates damage to the infrastructure at 1.8 million. And then you can see some of the other mitigation efforts. We distributed an additional 75,000 bags in 4 days after the first couple of flood events. So this has been we needed rain and we are getting it. So Sean, next slide. Now we're going to show, Sean's going to show the video on the left here first, which is, well, you can see the flooding. And this is the western tributary of the flooding that takes place within Mount Eldon Estates. And which the western tributary is represents about 25% of the watershed, and so it's a much smaller tributary than the eastern tributary, but you can still be able to see the extent of flooding. We won't show all this, but we'll show some of this so you can just get a feel for the extent of the flooding. Okay, Sean, and then he'll show the other video. So in that video, again, that was just a, a small portion of, there was also flooding taking place in the eastern tributary during this event. And then he'll show the other flooding, which shows the flooding as it comes into Flagstaff. This is at Paradise. Are you not hearing me? So
we can hear you.
This is the flooding as it comes on to Linda Vista and then goes down Linda Vista. This is overtopping a significant box culvert at Linda Vista as the wash enters the city of Flagstaff. And then it turns and then goes down Grandview. So go ahead. I think, Sean, go ahead. I will say we fortified these walls there at the Grandview confluence with Linda Vista, I think 3 different times now. So, they're still, going to get a certain amount of water no matter, frankly, what you do there. It's just very challenging. I think the videos give you a sense. Go ahead, Sean, back to the slides. Gives you a real sense. I think a picture is 1,000 words. A video in this case is probably like, would represent like 3,000 words. We had an immediate response by the district, the city, and the community. Restoring and repairing the roads, clearing debris, conducting site assessments, bolstering the flood mitigation. We've engaged over 560 volunteers to help with mitigation efforts as well as debris removal on private property, and have stood up a call center through the entire time frame. Some of the photos here, you can see the debris and mud that's accumulated at the city's inlets, and then the sandbags were part of a volunteer effort orchestrated by United Way. Next slide, Sean. So I'm going to turn it over to Christopher, who's going to describe the specific project. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucinda. Well, I'm Christopher Tressler. I serve as the county engineer, the flood control district engineer as well. And Sean, can we go to the next slide, please? I think we've been in the neighborhood for the last 2 years with this map, and you all are likely really familiar with it. But I mean, it shows the burn area up top, and then down below the watershed, it shows the modeled extent of flooding that we would predict based on 2 inches of rain in an hour. And given the 6 storms that we've had and the 5 flood events that we've had, we actually haven't had 2 inches of rain over the whole watershed. And we've just had rain over portions of the watershed. So it's we actually haven't seen what the modeled flooding could be. And this is just 2 inches of rain in it. So we've had 3 inches of rain and more in other places as well. Not to try to sensationalize the situation, but just to say that we have had flooding, and we expect that it could be even worse. And that we are pretty happy with the model, and we're excited that the science is supporting what we're seeing on the ground and what we're experiencing. And so I feel like we're on the right track, and we want to continue to apply the science to help with flood mitigation efforts. We can continue in the next slide, Sean. So we had just completed a flood mitigation project within Mount Eldon Estates, and it has I mean, I can say very definitively that it has saved at least 2 and probably 3 or 4 homes from flooding. And even prior to these storm events, we knew that some of the areas were at risk for flooding, and that we've tried to mitigate the best we can. But now that we have the flood events and the erosion in the area, we still have 6 weeks of a monsoon season, and we have this opportunity to do more flood mitigation work to decrease erosion and decrease sediment. So, and this project doesn't just have impacts within Mount Eldon Estates or benefits, positive impacts or benefits within Mount Eldon Estates. It has positive impacts downstream as we reduce as much sediment as we can in the flows, and that'll help with downstream infrastructure, the City of Flagstaff stormwater drainage infrastructure specifically. We can go to the next slide. So the project area is located up here in Mount Eldon Estates. It's within the county jurisdiction of the museum flood hazard area. It's about a half a mile downstream of the burn scar, and it's largely or wholly within the Mount Eldon Estates neighborhoods. Let's go to the next slide. So the main goal of the project is to stabilize these channels. And this is Mike Allen. He's an operator in our road maintenance department. And he's a very senior person. And he's been out there leading the crew at Mount Eldon Estates nearly every day. He had a few days off, and he just has done a phenomenal job helping keep the roads open and passable. But he's standing inside this channel, and if you look over to his right side, you can see some boulders at the base of a tree. And the channel used to be somewhere in that area, and it definitely did not dip down as much as it has now. And so some of the erosion is 4 to 5 feet deep. That's just a huge amount of sediment, cubic yards or tons, that are mobilizing and heading downstream. So this sediment causes us issues with the stormwater inlets downstream. And our goal is to try to get as much stormwater into the underground City of Flagstaff infrastructure as possible. And as much as we're able to do that, it decreases the footprint of the flooding downstream. But then also, this erosion is impacting these roads. And if it continues, it's going to begin to impact homes. And definitely property, the use of people's property, their driveways, their ability to get in and out of their properties is greatly impacted by these flood events and the erosion. Let's go to the next slide. Well, this is a map showing the location of the areas that we want to work. And so there are discrete locations throughout the neighborhood, and they include channel stabilization to decrease erosion. And we've already seen success with some of the other measures that have been installed within the area, and the houses and that have been mitigated against flooding and erosion. And so it's wholly contained on residential and within the residential area of Mount Eldon Estates. Let's go to the next slide, please. most of the work will look similar to this. It's grade control to keep the channels from incising or cutting. And they'll be in the form of rock vein weirs or some other type of rock work. We use natural materials to help stabilize stream channels. And this is not small rock. Most of the rock is 3 to 4 foot in diameter rock that we need to shore up the channel grade to decrease this erosion. But it's made out of natural materials, and in the long run, it largely looks natural in nature. Let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to turn it back over to Lucinda to talk about the response costs to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Go ahead in the next slide, Sean. And so current financial impacts to date, and this is from starting at July 13th with the first flood event, going through to, I think, through yesterday in effect. And so you can see what these estimated cost, Jeremy Floyd and our organization and working as the finance section chief for the EOC has been tracking these costs. And fortunately, we have a good system in place now with the Lucity system that the board supported us investing in. And between that and Munis, we're able to capture costs on a daily basis, including labor. So we've been very fortunate to have this. So you can see the response cost. We've expended about $300,000 to date. We've also encumbered. Encumbered means that we've entered into contracts with different entities to perform work. This includes, of course, the contractor that will be on this project and is, I believe, shown in this picture, which is Tiffany Construction, as well as the various conservation corps crews that have been here assisting with placing sandbags as well as producing sandbags, Team Rubicon, the Veterans Organization, the National Guard. There's been a number of entities that we've contracted with, so to speak, and that's what encumbered means. Some of that we've spent already, some we have not. The EOC call center cost, EOC and call center cost to date has been about $100,000. So that cumulative cost has been just a little over $600,000 for response. That does not include the match for the NRCS exigency grant that we're here discussing today. The city of Flagstaff estimates their response to date at 1.8 million. And I should indicate that our response costs, the district's response costs, that includes supporting the response within the city as well. So next slide. Now we'll look at the financials, and this looks at the financial budget for the flood control district. Go ahead, Sean. At both what our original budget was coming into this fiscal year, which began July 1st, and where we would be based upon what we're projecting our total costs will be, both for response as well as the match for the NRCS exigency grant. So we're looking at, even with, you're well aware because you approved a rate increase for the flood control district to provide us with some additional revenue to support an emergency reserve and to address a funding deficit within this fiscal year. We expect that we will exceed that by about $500,000 based on our current projections. And frankly, that will be significantly affected by how much more response is required. And also, once again, emphasizes why this project is important, because this will help reduce down the county's response and city's response costs with the reduction, with stabilizing these channels in Mount Eldon Estates. So next slide. So the staff recommends that the Board of Directors for the Flood Control District approve and accept the NRC exigency grant for $606,328 with a district match of $152,000. And so with that, we'd be happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Hey, Lucinda, this is Christopher. And Chair Ryan, can I just make another comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Christopher.
So at 2:45 today, we met with the NRCS and they confirmed for us that that we have, I mean, even though this is being fast tracked and we're trying to work as quick as we can, we still completed environmental and cultural resource assessments. And so that we do this work responsibly and that we are sensitive to especially the cultural resources that are in the area.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to suggest this for process, and if you want to do it different, just give me a heads up, board members. Why don't we go to the board for questions and probably move an action. The reason I'm saying the action right away before public comment would be we've got Geronimo from Mexico City and we're barely holding a quorum. So I want to make sure we get the action done before we lose any signal or anything. And then with that, then go to Patrice for the public. And I'm not sure if Geronimo wants, I'm sure if you have people out there, if Patrice, engaged Geronimo with his, if there are folk he would like to speak with. Is that okay with you too? Okay, fantastic.
I think that's a good idea. I don't want to lose our quorum either. So
No.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
But I do have some comments. So, and Geronimo, I don't know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I just have a few comments to make, and then I'll move this, Chair, if that's okay with you. So
yeah, right. Let's go to you, and then get Geronimo if he's got comments. We'll go for the motion. If we have additional comments in the motion, we can do that too. Go ahead, Patrice.
Yeah, and thank you. And yes, this was an unbelievable effort. And I just want to again thank the county staff, Lucinda, Christopher Tressler, and the rest. Have just done a yeoman's job on this, and I again want to give them great thanks. And also to Rose Winkler, who came back from her vacation and immediately had
Welcome back, Rose.
to all the legal parts of this. So again, thank you so much. And I want to also point out that we and Lucinda was a big motivator and, quite frankly, instigator to really get a meeting with USDA. And Liz Archuleta, our former supervisor, once again in the Department of Agriculture, she was able to get us in contact, and in a really short period of time got all of the people necessary, a seat at the table or a seat at the Zoom table, and had an incredible discussion on July 22nd. And again, the county staff just had their I's dotted and their T's crossed in terms of being able to present the situation and what we needed, and had worked very, very closely with both Natural Channel Design and Tiffany Construction, got them on board, got them ready, because this is an exigency funding. It's emergency funding. It's short, it's quick. We need to get it done. And quite frankly, the residents in Mount Eldon Estates need to get this done. So, and on Monday, July 26th, we had a community meeting out there at Mount Eldon. It was very well attended. At that particular time, what we have been able and the county has been able to accomplish got explained to the residents. Most of them at that time signed that cooperators agreement that was necessary in order for us to commence the work. Sophia Nicoletti, who is the president of the Homeowners Association, got the word out, got people there, and has just been a real partner in moving this forward. And I want to thank her, as well as all the other residents, the Lynns and the other residents out there whose homes have been impacted, and who some of the mitigation efforts that the county did before the monsoons, they've certainly have benefited. But we also know that these channels that we have out there, Mount Eldon Estates, we need channel stabilization. You heard the project that Christopher has outlined. It's important for us in order to continue the mitigation of the flood that we need to do this. Down the line, we're going to have to look at some other things and look at a partnership with the City of Flagstaff to look at other solutions as we go forward. But for now, we're still in the middle of the monsoons, and this is going to make a tremendous difference. So again, a huge thank you to the county, Lucinda, Christopher, you guys, you just rock. I mean, this is amazing you were able to get this done, and just thank you so much. And, Geronimo, you may have some comments to make, and then we'll turn it over to some of the residents.
Sure. I just wanted to say thank you to the staff. This has been a tremendous effort, and watching how quickly the county, in conjunction with the city staff, has reacted to the flooding that we've endured has been really impressive. And I just want to say thank you to all of you. Great job. Thank you to Liz Archuleta for helping get this funding quicker than we expected. I mean, this is awesome that it only took a week or so to get this funding. So I just want to say thank you to the team, and great job, and keep up the good work.
And I forgot NRCS, you made this happen for us. You made this happen for our residents, and thank you so much.
Motion.
Take it off the mute.
Mr. Chair, with
Okay.
that.
Let me just real quickly, similar, for the sake of staff, replicating your comments, but our partnerships, multiple partnerships, got Tiffany out there ready to respond, NRCS, but, I'm looking at Lucinda and Christopher, who, they put a lot of time out on Schultz, and Steve's hidden in there somewhere too. A lot of our other staff members that you don't see, but our agencies, it's the cooperation. But, I wanted good, kudos to you, Patrice, and to you, Geronimo. You've been working hard out in the community. You've been working with staff, and addressing the emergency really well. You're there for your people, which has been really wonderful.
Thanks,
So Patrice, if you would go ahead with the motion, that would be good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my great pleasure to make a motion to approve Flood Control District Resolution 2021-02, authorizing the application for and acceptance of financial assistance to the United States Department of Agriculture Natural Resources Conservation Services in the amount of $606,328, of which 75% will be funded by NRCS and 25% will be funded by Coconino County Flood Control District, either financially or in kind, and corresponding budget adjustments for an emergency watershed protection project for implementation of emergency measures, and authorizing all actions necessary to implement and complete the obligations of such financial assistance.
That's the motion. I need a second.
A second.
I have a second by Supervisor Vasquez. Any additional comments? I probably, the hidden staff would be Rose, our attorney, Lindsay, our clerk. You can go on and on. These
Go on and on.
guys, at night, late hours, a lot of people working real hard. But I'll call the question to make sure we get this through. All in favor of the motion, vote aye.
Aye.
And obviously, it's a unanimous vote of the board. Other board members that aren't here, we had to do this quickly. Sometimes you can't pull the full board together. They're off on other business, but this really worked. So with that, still staying in session, I'm going to turn it over to Patrice to go ahead and run the meeting with the public interaction here. Patrice.
Thanks, Chair Ryan. Really appreciate your comments. Yes, I know we have a couple members from the Homeowners Association, Sophia Nicoletti. If you could ask her, and Susan Lind, and if there's anyone else that may like to speak, maybe you can raise your hand so that we can ask if Lindsay, if you can put them on our Zoom meeting so they can speak. If you can raise them to panelists, or that's possible.
Yes, I have just moved one person to panelists, so they should be able to turn on their camera as well. David and Sophia Nicoletti have the ability to turn on the camera and to unmute.
You are now a panelist, so you can turn on the camera and also unmute yourself. We see on the screen, but it shows that you need to turn on the camera and unmute yourself.
Supervisor Horstman, I also have Susan Lindy, and I've promoted her to panelist as well.
Very good. And Susan, we see you, so maybe you can start us out, and hopefully we'll hear from Sophia here in a minute. Oops, we lost you. We saw you for a minute, Susan. Oh, there you are. Susan, would you mind if you have any words for the board? It's great to see you, and I'm so happy we were able to deliver this. So. We can see you, Ken. Oh, and there's Sophia.
Can you hear me?
Sophia, we can. We can't hear Susan.
Should I go ahead or shall we wait to see if Susan can unmute? I just discovered mine was a little buried in your frame, actually.
Well, Sophia, why don't you go ahead and Susan, if you can work on trying to get yourself unmuted.
Well, I just have to say that I am astonished at all of you. You are fantastic. Supervisor Horstman, Lucinda, Christopher, the entire county, the works people in RCS, Liz Archuleta. I could thank, the number of people I need to thank is probably pages long. And I have to say, from the moment this fire happened, I had fled it with my dogs, and I was in Sedona. I got a call right away. Come back up, you're in danger of flooding. And lo and behold, the county was right there before me. And I feel like you've been a partner. Dogs, and I was in Sedona. Oh, I got a call right away. I'm getting back feedback. But anyway, I have to say that the county has been there every step of the way. And so many times you've been several steps ahead of me. And I can't thank you enough on behalf of me, the board, the homeowners. What you have done so far has really saved our homes, our sanity. And as I watch the floodwaters rise, sometimes I look to my left and there's a county works person on guard right there, ready to clear the roads. So I just think this is a phenomenal job. And I think across the country, this is not necessarily the case, but you all have set the gold standard. And I so appreciate it and look forward to our partnership. You are easy to work with, pleasant, and you're always there. And I wish I were more articulate and could thank each of you and each person individually, because there's so many people in the background as well. But again, Patrice and Lucinda, I always hear your voice. You're there constantly. Christopher, Charlie, Tiffany, thank you so much. I'll just say that you have done such a phenomenal job. Thank you.
Oops, thanks, Sophia. Thank you and the community out there for your patience and diligence and partnership. Susan, and if you can. Oops, thanks, Sophia. Thank you and the community out there for your patience and diligence and partnership.
All right, it looks like I'm
Susan,
live.
And if you can. Oops, thanks, Sophia. Thank you and the community out there for your patience and diligence and partnership.
I guess I just want to.
Yeah. You may have the streaming YouTube site up as well if you want to close that down. then you won't have that feedback.
I guess I just wanted. Oh,
You may have the streaming YouTube site up as well. If you want to close that down, then you won't have that feedback.
woo. Oh. Did I lose all of you?
You may have the streaming YouTube site up as well. If you want to close that down, you may have the streaming YouTube site up as well. Down.
Oh my. I'm not. Oh
Lindsay, is there something that you can say to have her know what to do specifically to stop the streaming?
my.
Or maybe if she could put something in the chat, I guess.
Right. You have the Zoom link up, but you also have the YouTube streaming link up. So you've got to close the YouTube streaming link screen and just have the Zoom up so it's live.
Where am I seeing that?
It sounds like it's okay right now.
Okay, I'll try and talk real fast. I just, everyone has thanked everyone. Our property is right at what they've labeled ground zero, and I am so grateful for the first round of flood mitigation that the county did with Tiffany and everyone. Raising Primrose and our driveway definitely has saved our physical structures. Our property is pretty decimated, but I can't thank everyone enough for, wow, the work and the speed and response, especially once we saw the first flooding and what was happening, that they could jump in and not wait until the monsoon season's over to take care of some things, but jump in right now and get this funding, which is astonishing and greatly, greatly appreciated. So thank you.
And thank you, Susan, you and your husband too, for your patience and partnership. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Chair, I think those are the two community members that were able to join us. Thank you very much for allowing input.
Yeah, it looks like there are a few more, but they're not raising their hand. Geronimo, did you have any additional comments? Okay, just one point of note, and I'll turn back to Lucinda and Steve. While we're showing a structural deficit, we do have the money to backfill that piece, but we'll be looking for, additional money through grants, et cetera, to help us out. And I just need you guys to acknowledge that, we have that capability there.
Yes, and know that with the relative to the response costs, we are tracking all those costs very carefully and closely with obviously the intent with the declaration to submit those costs to the Department of Emergency Services at the state level, and they in turn will go to FEMA and request reimbursement. Of the costs that are deemed eligible, we will be eligible for up to 75% reimbursement. I will add, though, that we know that process doesn't happen. It's unlike NRCS, which will frankly pay us very quickly, for the project costs that once we submit everything. FEMA isn't quite so quick. It's a very long process. It can take 2 to 3 years. But yes, we will work through that, and we'll have the opportunity for next budget cycle to talk further about that. So thank you.
Yes. Yeah, just so we noted that, because, that could be a question that we'll have out there. And we've seen these processes. We know that, just for the sake of stating it. Well, with that, I think we've run the full gamut of the meeting. As noted by Patrice and Geronimo, Really appreciate all the work and cooperation from the community. It really takes the community as well working with us, so we appreciate you doing that. And with that, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. And have a wonderful weekend for everybody. And let's have metered rain that comes to us, huh?
Fingers crossed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the support.
Thank
Have a
you,
great
everyone.
weekend. Thank you all.
Lucinda, take the weekend off.
You
You
might.
We're starting construction tomorrow.
All right,
I want to see the fun. That's the fun part.
then take at least half the day off.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Bye.
Steve.
Okay, good job, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.